I want to show you a couple things in the next few scenes of a question that I asked you in our publication a couple months ago. The question was this: whereabouts would you make a trolling run, speed up and make a 180-degree fast turn? Give me 2 instances where you do that. Let me say again what I want to know what it is. Where would you give me 2 instances where you would speed up and make a 180-degree turn with the troll? In this case, we're looking at this cove, and I want to make a trolling pass so that I fish that cove. It could be any kind of cove. It could be a real narrow one. It doesn't make any difference. But a lot of people are in trouble especially if 2 people are in the boat trying to troll back in a cove. They get their lines all loose, and the man on the inside of on the outside of the curve, he got his rod straight up in the air trying to take up loose line. He didn't do any fishing whatsoever. And the other fella is he doesn't get up into the shallow water. He doesn't know how to troll that cove. So I'm going to show you 2 instances where we can make a fast 180-degree turn and still have our lures in position. I'm going to show you how I'm going to fish this cove. I could use a 500, but I believe in looking at it, I believe I could check it out pretty well as to whether there's any fish back in here by running a 400. That will allow me to get pretty far back in there, and by that time I should find out whether there's any fish back in that cove. So with that, we'll make a turn. Now how I'm going to do is if I take my boat, I want my lure to follow my boat. I don't want it cutting across. I don't want any loose line. And if 2 of us are doing it, we're both going to do exactly the same thing, and I'm going to show you. But the main thing is we want to get back in that cove and fish it. Now you'll find out that when I speed up to make my 180-degree turn, my lure is not going to be going quite as fast as the boat, but it's going to follow the boat. The line itself is going to ring it around, and since it's still on the curve, it will not be making quite the speed that I'm going to make, because when my boat straightens out, I'm going to cut the speed. But I have to come around the curve far enough so that the lure is fishing all back in there. So what I do is this: as I start to make the turn, my rod tip is going to go in the water, and it's going to continue in the water until I make the whole turn back in there. My partner on the other side of the boat, in the front of the boat, is going to be doing exactly the same thing. The rod tip's going to fall right there, and you're going to hold it. My rod tip is going to be right in the water. I'm going to keep it under my rod tip about that far under the water as I make that turn. And that means that my line drag is going to make that lure forward. I'm not going to run extremely long line, but I'm going to run a fairly good line. I may run as far as 2 colors. You could test it if you wanted to go in a real sharp doe, just drop down 1 color. And that would give you about 30 feet or 60 feet. You got to remember, if these fish are up back in this shallow, they're going to be active. And they're going to hear you coming before you get there anyway. So they should be looking for the lure. But I'm going to be just about that deep. Okay, I'm going to make my trolling run. Again, to be sure you understand. And if I'm in a narrow cove, I maybe have to speed the motor a lot faster if I'm in a very narrow, deep cove. So I'm going to make this time, I'm going to make it a little bit faster. And if you make it fast enough, you can get right up into a narrow cove. You don't want to get in trouble. If you go in there moseying in there, your line's going to be crossed, it's going to be up in the air, you're going to be everything but right. Just right that time. Let me do that again. We're going to demonstrate again the fast turn, 180-degree turn. Now in this case, we're on a rather short bar. It's not too long, but it goes out and the channel goes right out through there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw a marker around 8 or 10 feet. I'll use my depth sounder and I'll throw the marker. No use for me to check the shallows, but because I want to show you how to make the 180-degree fast turn. Now, this is a very narrow one. We could even consider where I threw my marker, just beyond the marker was a hump, and the hump wasn't very big, so we'd make quite a lot of straight line passes over the hump. In this case, we have a very narrow bar. And with the 100 and the 700, I can hit the whole thing, and I won't have to run too long a line, because I come across, I hit the bar, and I'm off of it pretty quick. So as soon as I get off of the bar, I'm through fishing. So I'm going to make a fast turn and get right back on it. 180-degree turn and get right back on that bar. So I'm going to throw a marker at about 10 feet. I had a short line on that about 12 feet, so it hit the bottom good. I'm going to start out with 100. Very narrow bar. Still staying there, way out here. I just barely did touch it that time, the crown, with the 100. So I'm going to switch to a 700. I'm thinking I'll check my line length to take care of it. I'll hit it out a little bit further. I'm starting to tip. Starting to hit it. Now I'm coming off. I'm going to let out more line and come up on it. Okay, I'm coming up on it. I missed it. I'm gonna come in on it. There it is. I just barely did touch it. I'm gonna try to hit the end of it and walk off. I walked off real good. It looked like it's about 15, 16 feet. That's what it felt like. Well, there's no use to cast it. As far as I'm concerned, he wasn't there. A little later on, we'll run a bar pretty far out, a long bar, and I'll be quite a ways out, and I'll have to run a lot of line, so my passes are going to be quite long. In this case, it's very short. We just got through with running to show you two examples of where you'll make a fast turn in order to keep your lures in position. In the case of the Cove, the lure was following the boat, just about like the boat trail. But the main thing is, you notice I never had to get any slack in my line. If I had two people in the boat, no one would have any slack line. A lot of times when going around a curve like that, some of the boys in the boat will do this. That's just the opposite of what you should do. You should put the rod tip down. Now, if you don't do it, you're going to be in trouble. Now, in this case, that could have been a bar, a narrow, long bar, fairly long bar, or it could have been a hump where I threw that marker, and then I'd have worked both sides of the marker. But when that lure went across that narrow bar and started swimming free, as far as I was concerned, I was through. Now, when I made the fast turn to come back on and get my lure back in position, probably if the fish is anywhere around and he saw the lure speed up, he's going to take it anyway. So it wasn't no use to just keep going after I left the fishing situation. So you got to get back. I could have fished that bar and made long turns, and I'd been here 15 or 20 minutes. As it is, it only takes just a little bit to check it out. So there's two good examples of where the fast turn is on. But any time that you're going, and your lure is out of position, it doesn't mean you have to keep poking along. You can go ahead and turn that throttle up and get back to fishing.